I don't have a sponsor or a giveaway for this video, and you don't care about an intro, so let's talk about the Starlancer Tac. When people mention this ship, they usually say, oh, it's got good guns, or oh, it's a ground assault ship. And although that's true, it's really not what sells this thing in my opinion, and I wish people would talk about what the ship actually gives you and what gameplay loops it opens up. So starting with the exterior, you have a lot of fun things to play around with. Starting in the back, we have our first ever rear mounted missile turrets. These will shoot backwards, you have 2 of them, and I believe they carry size 1 missiles. Right now, missiles aren't the best, and size 1s especially won't do a whole lot of damage, but it does cover the only part of the ship that isn't covered by turrets, so that is quite nice. Up top, you have a dual size 4 turret, and you also have another one of those near the front. They have pretty good coverage all around, and for the size of the ship, it is plenty. The pilot has access to 4 size 4 weapons, which is pretty nice. Additionally, they have a bespoke quad-rack launcher with 4 size 3 missiles. What people are really here for are the dual size 5 turrets. You have one on each side of the ship, and they are broadside, which means they are mostly focused on shooting to the left and right, and not the front. I'm not sure if they will be able to match the pilot weapons and shoot forward, but I don't really think that will matter because the ship like this can't turn very well and is not very fast. So you're not going to get pilot guns on target 100% of the time. A lot of people are complaining that it doesn't have more forward firepower, but again, a ship like this isn't going to be facing forward for 50% of the fight. So having these guns anyways is fine. Now let's talk about the interior. There's a lot of fun stuff packed into the ship, and I would argue that for the size, it's probably the most useful ship in the entire game, or at least one that will be coming to the game. For the cargo area, you have 96 SCU, plus the capability of carrying an Ursa rover or smaller vehicles. This is one of the only ships in the game that does not sacrifice SCU for vehicle storage. So what that also means is that you can replace that vehicle with more cargo. Obviously it won't be on the grid, but I've been doing the same thing with the Starlancer Max and I haven't had a single problem with it, so I say go for it. You can fit 2 32 SU containers back here, plus an extra 24 SU container, for a total of 184 SCU. For a ship this size, that is not bad, especially considering the fact that it is a combat-focused vessel, and it also has a ton of other amenities. If you really want to have fun, you can fit a few snub ships in the back. You can fit a Merlin and Archimedes, you can fit a Pisces, and you can even fit some of the Misk racers. Now, talking about something that most people don't really care about, the engineering room on the ship is really nice. Most of the components are here. It's really cool to look at, and it's really open and easy to walk around. There's really not much hindering you from fixing whatever you need to fix. In comparison to ships like the Zeus that make you walk all around for the components, and bigger ships like the Carrack that have 2 floors that you'll have to move up and down, I really think that this one will be quite user-friendly, and when we eventually do get engineering gameplay, I think people will care a lot about this, and it will be a bonus for the ship. Moving back down to the bottom, we have a medbay with 2 tier 3 medbeds. Right now, it doesn't really matter which beds you have, anything will respawn you, at least within a certain distance, so it's really nice to have these. If you carry a medical Pisces in the back, and then ship all your people inside to the medbay, you have a pretty good gameplay loop going with this ship. Next, you have 8 jump seats. These are not just for combat. I think jump seats are really useful in a lot of situations. If you have a ton of friends to lug around, you've got room for them. If you're doing medical gameplay and you don't want to fit passengers right up in the cockpit where they could eventually steal your ship or something crazy like that, you can instead stuff them in these jump seats and they will not be an issue. If you go out and rescue a bunch of people from some ship that maybe ran out of fuel or something, you can put them down there. You've got lots of room. So those are really nice to have. The doors will also open in this room, and you have an additional 2 size 1 weapons, which aren't going to be that useful in the grand scheme of things, but it is kind of a cool factor that can't be ignored. Next, you have a little armory. It's not the best. You have 4 suit lockers and a little weapons rack. I think for this ship, because it's more military focused, it should have an expanded one, but the one on the Max is good enough, So I think for the Tac it'll be a bit of a downside, but nothing too bad, especially considering we can put all of our weapons in an SU container anyways. The surprise feature of this ship is the little snub hanger. As far as I know, all you can really fit in here is a singular Fury. Obviously, once it gets released, we'll be able to test it out and see if that's really the case. But either way, it's a really nice to have. When people think about snub ships, they usually say, oh, it has a lot of firepower, or oh, it'll be able to survive a little bit. But I think when you're in a fight, having any snub ship is useful. The reason for this is because the Starlancer Tac is very slow, and so if you're fighting a Gladius, it will be able to turn around you and probably just kill you eventually if they're skilled enough. However, if you have a small tiny snub ship that you can send out behind it, you are now in control of the situation. You're going to make it choose between the snub ship or the big ship. If it chooses you, it's going to have to hope that it can kill you before the snub ship kills it. And comparing the sizes, it's very unlikely it's going to be able to kill you first. Or it's going to have to focus its fire on the snub ship, in which case it'll probably be quite easy to get your guns focused and kill them without any problem. Aside from this capability, you can also use it to scout for minables or salvageables, anything like that. Because you can fit 2 rocks in the back, maybe even 4, you've got a tiny little gameplay loop going for you right there. And then, because we have the new Atlas salvage vehicle, you can do salvaging as well. So very similar gameplay loops. You have a lot of capability with the ship because of just how much cargo you can carry and all those vehicles, and the snub ship. Plus, again, having that medbay for those gameplay loops is really nice. If a rock explodes too early, or just something random happens and you die, it's not over for you. You can just respawn and keep going on your merry way. And another thing you can do is, let's say you have a tiny little Argo tractor. You can bring more cargo up into that hangar bay. Again, it won't be on grav plating, but as far as I've seen, that's not an issue. I'm not exactly sure what you could fit in there, but I think you could fit 2 24 SU containers, which is a nice little extra if you're really focused on cargo hauling with a bit more firepower. So yeah, overall, this ship is really nice, and I kind of wish more people were talking about the benefits that this thing has. For the price of this ship, it's really a good deal too. I wouldn't recommend buying this on the store when it eventually comes out again. I would just save up in game. It's not going to take that much work, and you're going to get a lot of ship for what you've put in. So I definitely recommend checking this out at Invictus, and I appreciate you for sticking all the way through this video. So thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.